Long time no speak, long time no see. Let's see if it's working. It's going to take a minute because I clicked the wrong thing. So I apologize for that. It's also late as hell when I'm filming this, so I might yawn during the course of this. It might happen. While we're waiting to see if this is working, this conversation would need to be had. You're probably wondering, this is interesting. This is new. I haven't seen that from you. So, if you've been watching and keeping up with the Brooklyn Nets series on our channel on NBA 2K25, I've talked occasionally about the Throwback Grizzlies series that I've been doing as well that hasn't been filmed. And I'm breaking that rule today, and we're busting it out because this is a massive video, the return of Shooting the Breeze on the channel. If you've been watching and keeping up with the Brooklyn Nets. Okay, our mic sounds fine, so I do believe everything is working. We're here for Shooting the Breeze, which we haven't done one of these since the night of Elimination Chamber 2025. And again, like I said, we have two massive topics to go over. I've got an hour and 25 minutes of free time. So that's the expected run time. So this might be the longest Shooting the Breeze. I'd have to double check on that. Regardless, we're here Shooting the Breeze. A tradition for this series as we talk about the opening weekend of the NBA playoffs and the aftermath of WrestleMania whatever year. So the past 2 years that we've done it, WrestleMania 39 and 40, the 2023 and 2024 playoffs. So it's a double header here because the WWE and the NBA, mainly blaming the WWE, scheduled their two massive events to happen in the same weekend. So there's a lot to go over, a lot to discuss. And for the next hour and 20-ish minutes, we'll be discussing a lot of it, hopefully. While I'm making my return, because I've not, for the last month, touched this save. So this is my throwback Grizzlies team. Long story short, I started in 03, tanked, got LeBron. So for 4 years, we had LeBron on our team. Lost in the playoffs the first year to the Kings, and then we went and had a three-peat. And then we also traded Shane Battier for Caron Butler, which helped us out a lot because Caron Butler was better offensively and defensively compared to Shane Battier. Then I personally said, F it. Now, I will preface it by saying I would not do this in real life, and it's very similar to a trade that happened in the real life NBA. But I said, F it. I want to try it. I traded LeBron for Kobe Bryant, and it still worked out for us as well. We have traded a lot of our picks to get Derrick Rose on the team as well and draft him. Everything else is just being able to have other teams draft picks. We have Mike Conley as our sixth man. Marc Gasol is here paired with Pau Gasol. Pau Gasol has been here the whole time. Kyle Korver has been a beast for us. We just acquired Lamar Odom this offseason in a trade because Caron Butler left 2-ish seasons ago. Josh Smith, Nicholas Batum, and Kawhi Leonard, who we just drafted, and Kenneth Faried. So I'm hoping that he turns out well. So I'm having fun with this series, even though it's just me. Mainly, y'all's knowledge of this is just me talking about it. So we're going to actually play some of these games because, like I said, I'll play it in a minute. And we got to talk about real life playoff basketball as well as WrestleMania 41. So I think we're going to start with WrestleMania 41 because I did watch in full both events where the playoff Sunday was very, 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 very brutal, obviously. So we'll go through WrestleMania related and then leave off with the playoffs for the second half. I think is the way to go as I'm trying to stall and write one last note down. So, note one. I did terrible on our playoff predictions. I don't want to go through it exactly. I didn't add the Randy Orton match, even though I probably should have. The main thing that I wrote down is why was there no Motor City Machine Guns match? And I still feel that way. If we would have had the Motor City Machine Gun, that TLC match that they're doing this week on SmackDown, Motor City Machine Guns, Street Profits, and DIY, that would have been a great match. And definitely in the debate for the best match of WrestleMania, and it also kind of helps that the best matches were triple threats, which that might have been their rationale, because the two best matches of Mania week, for WWE at least, were triple threat matches, and they were the most criticized because we were tired of having so many triple threat matches, so kind of makes us look weird in hindsight. Regardless, I didn't get to catch a lot of other wrestling shows this WrestleMania weekend, which normally is not the case. There wasn't really anything that I'm like, I have to go out of my way and watch with it. And normally that's kind of the case for me with Supercard of Honor, because we talk about it every week on Ring of Honor, and big ROH fans. So we will be discussing Supercard of Honor in a matter of a couple of weeks. So we at least have that to look forward to as we give up an easy basket. So let's actually talk about WrestleMania 41. Jey Uso and Gunther. I will admit I'm a little bit bothered that Gunther tapped out, as Gunther is one of my favorites in the WWE. But the main thing that I've said from the beginning for quite a while is we expected a title change to happen. So I personally was not that bothered by it. So congrats to Jey Uso on becoming World Heavyweight Champion. I have no clue what this reign looks like, I will say. I don't think it's going to be the greatest one, especially when you got Gunther, who had a great reign. It also sucks, and I was talking to myself and thinking to myself, it sucks that probably the best things of Gunther's title reign are not seen, because when you look at his house show resume, and he faced on house shows, he faced CM Punk, Ilya Dragunov, AJ Styles. None of those matches aired, and you would have had to go out of your way to actually watch those matches and see them, So maybe they should have uploaded some of those matches on the WWE Vault. Maybe they will. Best of Gunther's World Title reign, and we get these special matches. So I'm kind of hoping that. But other than that, it was a nice tone setter for the weekend. It was also a great moment when on Raw, Gunther attacked Pat McAfee, and now we gotta wonder what the hell comes with all that. Jacob Fatu defeated LA Knight to become U.S. champion. I'm not gonna say I saw this title change happening, but I am definitely intrigued in what a Jacob Fatu U.S. title reign looks like. Tiffany Stratton defeated Charlotte in the surprise of the weekend, I guess you could. I can't even say that. The surprise of night one, I will say. I didn't expect that to happen. The match was not as sloppy or chaotic as we expected it to be, even though Tiffany Stratton, I think, chipped a tooth or something happened to one of her teeth. But it just seems to be fine now. The highlight of night one of WrestleMania, and to be honest, might have been my highlight from WrestleMania in general, CM Punk's main event entrance at WrestleMania, and the video package playing This Fire Burns, which if y'all have tuned into the channel, and mainly in the build to the Hell in a Cell match with Drew McIntyre, every video in which I talked about that match and talked about CM Punk, I threw out the suggestion and the idea, please come out to This Fire Burns for this one occasion. Make it like in AEW when you came out to your ROH theme song. It would be very, very similar circumstances, and This Fire Burns is a great song. So he did it for the most special occasion, and that's his WrestleMania match. So I do appreciate that actually happening. Now, when it comes to this triple threat match, I've seen a lot of people say it's the greatest triple threat match of all time, the greatest one at WrestleMania. I definitely need to sit and let it marinate and simmer and whatnot, but if you were to ask me, right now, do I think that? I don't. I really don't. It would be very difficult to top Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre in my eyes. And there's one other WrestleMania triple threat that comes to my eyes that I think is better, but again, I'll sit and let it wait. The same thing goes for the ending of the match, in which Seth Rollins wins with the help of Paul Heyman, who when they threw out this idea of Seth getting a favor, I think we could have anticipated that it involved something with Heyman in this WrestleMania match. And I will admit that I didn't see it being him just straight up joining and now they're aligned with one another. And in the moment, I wasn't the biggest fan of it because fantasy booking wise and suggestion wise, I kept saying Punk is the one that turns heel and Heyman cuts his ties with Reigns and cost Reigns the match. Now, in that moment after the match, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. If this was just a straight up WrestleMania, this would probably be a very flat kind of ass finish, which we know we got one of those to discuss in a couple of minutes. Uh, but in the moment, I didn't like it. And the main thing that I was saying to myself, I'm going to give it some time and think about it. And the main thing is, we need this partnership to work because this will be the defining moment, their big moment, and the starting point of it. So we need this partnership to work. Now, will it? I don't know. Again, in the moment, I didn't necessarily think that it will or would. And I was thinking to myself, with Reigns and Heyman, when they got paired together, we could get behind it because it was the first time that we're seeing Reigns as a heel, and Heyman gave him a reason to be heel, and it's something different. And it kind of worked, and for the past 5 years, you could definitely say that it did. Him pairing with Punk in 2012 made sense and was okay because that was Punk at his highest power, and it was Heyman coming back and getting him into his groove, and then obviously he spent a lot of time with Brock Lesnar, and that always worked. Or with him and Seth, I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know how it works, and I don't know necessarily if Seth needs it. Now, I could get behind it because I didn't really know necessarily if Seth lost this match after Mania, what the hell he's going to do next. With Roman and Punk, you could figure that those two would be competing with one another or going back after the championship. Or it's Seth, that could be the case, but it would kind of be the same old story. Or with Punk, it really wouldn't because since he's been back in WWE, he hasn't went after the title on screen. And Reigns, for the longest time, we have seen that, but it makes sense that he would want to be going back after the title. Where now, it seems that all these parties are still connected. So, in the moment, long story short, in the moment, I wasn't really into the finish and the pairing of Seth and Heyman. But the night after Raw kinda helped it, and, now we're getting into an interesting territory with it and adding Braun Breaker into the mix with this, which I was trying to think, how do I need to cover the night after WrestleMania stuff, but we'll discuss this one now. I've also, because my whole idea was Punk turning heel and pairing up with Paul Heyman, and Punk and Heyman go after Roman Reigns. Or now it seems this is going to be the case, and Seth and Heyman are going after Roman Reigns. And Punk and Braun Breaker are added into it. And I just feel like when you look at the archetype and the setup of previous Paul Heyman guys, Braun Breaker is very much in that territory and fits it and is understandable with it, and it will benefit him a whole lot because I think he is up next for the WWE in at least the Raw division, at least. So I like this pairing, and I'm interested in it now, especially with adding Braun Breaker, and it was somebody that I had been suggesting all along, where with Rollins, it took me some time to think about it, at least, because in the moment, I didn't think it was going to work. Now, I can get behind it, and I still think there's a lot to be left with it. So, night one, overall, with night one, and I kind of have this feeling a little bit with night two, but with night one, it was good. It was a good Mania. It just didn't really feel that special until the ending, And even then, I was still a little bit perplexed by it. It wasn't the end-all, be-all. And I also think that coming off of last year's Mania and the ending of it, it was going to be difficult to top that ending and that show in general. Mainly the ending. Because a lot of times the main thing you remember is the ending. So I thought it would be difficult to do that, and obviously they felt that sentiment as well. So getting on to night two, WrestleMania Sunday. Probably my favorite match of the weekend. the women's triple threat delivered. Io Sky defeating Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, which I love Io Sky. I personally think she's the best women's wrestler in the world right now. There, I said it. I don't care. Who's going to argue with me about it? Regardless, I think she's the best women's wrestler in the world, but I kind of thought that Bianca was going to win, and I picked Bianca to win because she has the Mania undefeated streak. It's been a while since we've seen her as the women's champion, and we kind of are seeing different tendencies and could see a heel Bianca Belair, which we have not seen on the main roster yet. Now, with being cost and losing her Mania matchup, that might give a reason for that to happen. We'll see with that. Rhea Ripley kind of seems that she's also, we might be getting into a weird territory with Rhea Ripley because we've been so associated with her with the Judgment Day, and then finally she broke away with the Judgment Day and was doing world title stuff, and now we're in the territory of what the hell she does next, and it's still being in the women's world title scene. So, bit of a weird territory there. But I will say, I kind of make a regret picking Bianca when Io came out and they started talking about this match, and they're like, she's underestimated, no one expects her to win. I'm like, well, that's kind of like tapping at a sign saying, oh, she's going to win this match. So I could kind of tell from the beginning of the match that Io was going to win, but it didn't hurt the match, and I'm all right with Io winning. That's kind of, I don't really see an issue with it. So there was that, and we did get a matchup the night after involving, why did I not put Kyle Korver back into the game? Oh, well. Stephanie Vaquer and Io Sky, which had a screwed finish. I felt that they probably should have just teased the two facing off, and then it set up a tag match with Julia and Roxanne, because they're doing Roxanne versus Julia on NXT, and so I'm filming this before NXT, obviously, so I don't know how that goes. And it's also a little bit weird that NXT is the conclusion of WrestleMania weekend, but they technically started WrestleMania weekend, so there's that as well. Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest had a great Sin City Street fight. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed these performers, and a lot of people were questioning why the hell this was happening, and I thought that it kind of made sense because Drew has been called so many times of his big moments by Punk, and the person that reaped that reward was Damian Priest a majority of that time, so it kind of made sense for Drew to want to go after him, especially because he could still fall on that trend on the SmackDown brand. Now, speaking of that, I have no clue what Drew does next. I want to see him involved in the main title picture, but I don't see him going after blank, who's the WWE champion. I'm trying not to spoil things, even though if you don't know who the WWE champion is right now, good on you, because you are not online. I will give you credit there. But I don't see him going after the world title either, and I'm not that damn interested in Jey Uso and Gunther and Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre. So I'm intrigued to see what Drew does next, because he's had a great year plus, and it's interesting to see if that will continue. Dominic Mysterio became the Intercontinental Champion in what was a big moment and another great WrestleMania Sunday, until we got to one of these matches, was going great and a lot better than WrestleMania Saturday, to say the least. I enjoyed the Intercontinental title match, but I also prefaced it in my prediction that the person I would want to win the least actually won the match. So it kind of, I'm not going to say soured it for me, but because I'd seen it on Twitter for the past month plus, and I've seen it continue. I knew the moment that Dominic won, I would see 30 plus tweets talking about, oh, he did it for his father, and it'd be a picture of him and Eddie Guerrero next to each other. And so that was my time. That's been my timeline for the past 2 days. That and complaining about the main event of this show. But I kind of wanted Penta to win. I wouldn't have been that against Braun winning, and because that's also those two's Mania debuts, so you could do the undefeated streak between those two, or one of the two. Where now you can't do that. Finn, it has been such a long time since we've seen Finn have a deserving moment and a great moment, so I felt that could have been that. No, it wouldn't have necessarily been that, but it could have been that, and now that's not really the case. As we have two 99s going after each other. Kobe's not a 99, but he should be. This is a good Hornets team, by the way. So I've been wanting to play them. So good on Finn good for Dominic winning. I'm tired of seeing the Eddie comparisons. Please end it this week, even though I'm fairly certain that it won't. Wouldn't have mind Penta winning the championship. So we'll see what comes with that. This is where I think stuff start going downhill. Now, I know I have this out of order, but this is how I wrote it in my notes because I was doing this one from memory. And again, I know it's out of order. AJ. Why'd AJ have to lose to Logan Paul? I'm glad because it felt for a good while that I've seen so many comparisons and sayings of, oh, Logan Paul's good, and he's a great. I'm over it. I've never really liked Logan Paul. I'm not a fan of him competing in the WWE. I understand him competing in the WWE because he brings eyes to the product. And I also feel if WWE's like flat out just says, yeah, you can't compete here anymore. One of their bigger sponsors in Prom Energy wouldn't be the case, which I don't like Logan Paul so much that I've never drunk Prom Energy. And I don't, I've heard bad things about it, but if WWE's promoting, it's going to be some type of good, right? Regardless. I was very upset about Logan Paul defeating AJ Styles, who is legitimately one of the greatest wrestlers of all time and had such a great year last year. And I wanted that momentum to continue, and I felt that this could have been a starting point for that or continuing point from that, and it feels like it's kind of stopped it. So, obviously, I was not happy with Logan Paul beating AJ Styles, and nothing about the match really felt that special either, which, to say that about an AJ Styles match at WrestleMania, or an AJ Styles match in general, I mean, somebody did something wrong. Someone threw this at me. AJ's WrestleMania track record is very questionable. Now, the word that they used was stinky. I'm not going to throw out who said it, and I had to argue it. And the main argument that I made was he main evented a WrestleMania, which I'm considering the Boneyard match a main event. I'm also of the part that night one counts for a main event. So many people are saying night one's not a main event, night one's not a main event. I can understand it's not something that you should be crying for and clamoring for and saying, like, making it a big selling point. I can understand that a little bit, but I'm counting night one as a main event, especially because outside of this year, and I guess you can make the argument for last year, but I think last year was kind of neck and neck. Night one has typically been the better show of the two-night Mania era. So it's kind of the people's main event in quotations. But AJ's track record, he lost to Chris Jericho, which at the time, and looking at it now, I'm a bit upset by that. Especially because during that time period, Jericho was losing a lot. So for him to not lose at Mania was kind of some bullshit. And you could have done the undefeated streak with AJ because he went on undefeated. Oh my God, this makes so much more sense with what I'm about to say afterwards. Because the next year he faced Shane McMahon. Which again, I saw somebody tweeting it. Because it wasn't even just a tweet of this. Somebody said this to me and a tweet came out of it. That AJ's best WrestleMania match was with Shane McMahon. And I'm not even that against that sentiment. Because I like Shane McMahon. And that was a good matchup. And a good build to the match as well. Then he had the Nakamura match, which is very perplexing. He had the Randy Orton match, which I feel was very similar to their first time matchup that happened on SmackDown. And that was a very good matchup. But the main thing that people remember from that match is the crowd chanting to turn the lights off because it was affecting their viewing of the match. And it wasn't that damn different, and it kind of feels a little bit forgotten. Then he has his main event match, which is in the Boneyard. Then he had, which I love that match, That's his main event and Undertaker's last matchup. So I feel that people should talk about that match more and care about that match more in hindsight. Then he had a match versus the New Day for the tag titles involving Omos, which if he would have had any other tag partner, I felt that people would like that match more, even though people have come around and start to like Omos. And it also helped him become a triple crown champion in WWE or a Grand Slam because he was World, US, IC, and needed the tag. So I wasn't against that match. Also, an extremely weird pairing in hindsight. Then he had the match with Edge, which I just reviewed that match. I thought that was people were saying it was a bad match. It was a good match. It was just kind of forgettable and, not ground changing. Then he didn't even have a match at 39 because I believe that he was injured. And then last year with LA Knight, which I'll be honest with you, I just remember LA Knight coming out with like a Slim Jim car and AJ coming out to new theme music, which that was the whole, what is it going to sound like? And it wasn't better than his original theme, which he had to go back to. So there's your AJ Styles WrestleMania history. And this might be, is this the worst one? It's definitely, if you had to do a tier list, it's definitely at the bottom of the tier list. Now back to your regularly scheduled program and talking about a TNA legend. Joe Hendry was Randy Orton's surprise opponent. The one thing that I liked is I genuinely did not know who was going to come out and be the opponent. Very rarely in wrestling nowadays do you get an actual surprise, and this was one of those because Joe Hendry did not come across my mind, and I did not think of Joe Hendry. And I'm going to be very positive mindset with this. Maybe this is the start because in this TNA WWE partnership, it's been TNA and NXT talent. So maybe this is the start of main roster talent being involved in TNA, which I really doubt that Randy Orton's going to travel to TNA to compete, especially because, he's got his eyes on the WWE title now, spoiler alert. Regardless, I don't make the rules, but Randy Orton's the TNA champion right now. I don't know how you can have your world champion and have the world title, make a big deal about, this is the world champion, by the way, and have him lose and it not be a title. So Randy Orton, in my eyes, is the TNA world champion right now. New champion was also crowned legitimately in the women's tag team titles when Bayley was taken out and replaced with Becky Lynch, who teamed with Lyra Valkyria. And in my notes are Lyra and Becky already lost. Now, I didn't and don't have a problem with Becky coming back because she's a big deal. And for months, we were expecting her to come back, and she hasn't. So we finally have it happen, and to be upset about it is a bit perplexing. I don't have a problem with it, except for they screwed Bayley over, and Bayley has a lot of fans. She has a lot of, she has a great track record. She had a great year. And WrestleMania very much seems to be, if you're on the show, we're rewarding you. If you win your match at WrestleMania, we're really rewarding you. So Bayley, who at last year's WrestleMania was in the women's title match, which, is a big deal, should be at least, you would expect her to be on the show the next year. So for that to not happen, I am against that. I don't like that. They kind of screwed Bayley over. I'm not for that at all. So that was kind of the downside of this. Also, Becky and Lyra literally lost the next night. And I personally would have rather seen Becky and Lyra face Gigi and Tatum on NXT, even though I probably won't be watching NXT Live this week. So a bit perplexing, but it was just to bring Becky back. Okay, understandable. Now, do we only have one more match to talk about? I think we do. That's the main event matchup, the one you paid. Oh, my goodness, I forgot. I will admit, the one moment that got me out of my seat and like, oh, my God, what the hell is that happened at WrestleMania was Stone Cold coming out and crashing his ATV into the barricade, which I hope everybody was okay in that situation. But that was a genuine what the fuck moment, and the main thing that I took away for quite a minute. The other thing that I took away is that John Cena finally finally won his 17th World Championship and now broke Ric Flair's record. I try to combine it like I normally do. And via the help of Travis Scott. Now, here's what I will say. If this happened like 5 years ago, this would probably be the only thing I would be talking about. I really liked Travis Scott back in the day. And even now, like, I don't have a problem with Travis Scott or hate him. But I also understand that wrestling fans, hardcore wrestling fans, let's put that in context as well, really don't know these people. I'll give an example. Bad Bunny, when he came to the WWE, a lot of people didn't know who he was. I had heard a couple of his songs and knew that he was a wrestling fan and made wrestling references. But they do it for outside attention. So like I said, I didn't really have a problem with Travis Scott interfering, especially because, he's somewhat established in this story via John Cena's big heel turn, which even then was, again, a crazy moment in hindsight. So I didn't have a problem with Travis Scott being involved. I will say that him coming out very much felt like, and I want to make if you watch the new Legacy Inc. pay-per-view preview videos and what do they call it? It's very much they just live stream the matches that are going to happen at that pay-per-view. That very much felt like a new Legacy Inc. bit, because a lot of times they have matches and just random-ass people come out. Now, again, he's established in the story, but the way that he came out, the way it was presented, and just in general, the hindsight and end result felt random as hell and video game-like, and that's not necessarily a good thing. I will also say that WWE has now got the problem on their hands, and I'm putting that in quotations, of the fans turning on Cody Rhodes and not liking Cody Rhodes and booing Cody Rhodes like we saw in AEW. And it took a long time for that to happen. I knew it was going to happen at some point. How is it going to continue? Probably anytime he's involved with John Cena. That's why I think they are pushing hard for Randy and Cena, because the fans are really behind Randy right now, and I don't see them booing him. And I could see them booing Cena to be on Randy's side, because we have not seen this in a minute. Where Cody, we've kind of been seeing the same thing happening for the past year-ish plus. So I can understand a little bit of why the fans are booing, but I don't really know the way that they pivot and get away from it. Overall, I thought WrestleMania was good, wasn't better than last year, kind of expected that to happen. Weird-ass ending that I'm not against, but understand why so many are. Also, by the way, everybody's asking where the hell The Rock is. And it's very funny that he was not involved in WrestleMania or at WrestleMania. And I will preface it by saying, I said it a year ago. You can't trust The Rock, because he's just going to screw up the shit that you want. And you can't trust on if and when he's going to appear at stuff. Granted, you would think that WrestleMania could be the exception with that. I've never filmed a movie. I don't know how filming movies work and whatnot. But you would think that him inserting himself into this storyline, he would appear. So I'm not butthurt that he didn't, because I've kind of came to this realization where others obviously have not. And, spoiler alert, you probably should. Night after WrestleMania highlights. John Cena, Randy Orton. I'm interested in that. This title, I think, I heard someone talking about the quote and theorizing that this boom period that we're in with WWE is probably going to go down and take a turn. And I can understand that, because interest isn't that crazy, and a lot of the interest and care has been in WrestleMania last year and this year. And a lot of it this year was because of Cena's last match and him chasing this record-breaking title reign. Or that would be my counter argument, is that I think people will still tune in to see who and when, what John Cena's doing in his last 27-ish dates and what he's doing in the title reign. So time will tell there. There's also the idea, because I think the summer should be very good if the rumors are true of them doing an Evolution 2, because the women's division is in a good spot right now. A great spot, actually. A better spot than they were during the first Evolution show. So hopefully that is actually true. We get more Saturday night's main events shows, which I don't know when the next one's scheduled for, but I know at least one is. So we should be good in for a good period. And most of the time, the Backlash Premium Live events are very good. As we're trying to get to couldn't dunk it, but Josh Smith has had a good game for us. Raw after Mania, Cena Orton. I'm interested in it. The point I was making there is that this Cena title reign should be good, because a lot of what we could expect is probably getting dream matches, because it's the last chance that it can happen, and renewing old rivalries with now it having the new twist. Because when we saw Punk and Cena was the face and getting cheered and everybody cared for, or actually wasn't really getting cheered, but he was the face. And Punk was the heel. Orton, the whole time that they faced in their thousands of matches, it's also been like 10 years? How long ago? When the hell was the... I remember they had a match. This is a throwback. 2017, so 8 years ago. Because at the Royal Rumble in 2017, if they just stopped there, the match at Mania would have been Cena and Orton, because Cena was going to be champion and Randy Orton won the Rumble. So that was I remember there being a graphic and it had the WrestleMania logo, and it was those two. It was like, did we talk about at WrestleMania? It was those two. And then they just did the match on SmackDown, which kind of like tipped your hat that like, oh, something's going to change here. And Bray Wyatt won the WWE title. So I think legitimately the last time that these two faced off was 8 years ago. And now, again, like I said, there's a new twist of it being Cena being a face or a heel and Orton being the face. I already talked about Becky and Lyra. I hate to say, I love Lyra Valkyria. I think we're all kind of expected a new women's Intercontinental Champion to come out of this whole story and whatnot. It's kind of also weird to turn Becky heel right away, but online wise, it would make sense if you're online. I'll be generous to them and give them their sleeve jerseys. And then what jersey are we going to wear? We'll wear these. Rusev returned, finally. Because we've heard for the last 3 years that he wants to come to the WWE, and now he is finally back here. And I think that he's going to have elements of his previous WWE run. I think a lot of his WWE run was focusing on being like a foreign heel and everybody hating him. In his AEW time, there's a little bit of that, and a lot of it was just putting on great matches and dominant performances. So I think I'm going to hope that we get a mixture of that. And I already talked about that I like the Seth and Braun pairing, mainly Braun being with Roman Reigns. And the exact quote that I gave in my Mania predictions is, my Roman dream match, like if I had to have one more Roman match, it would be Roman Reigns versus Braun Breaker. So we're kind of on the trajectory and the road to that, I would say. Seth and Punk, I imagine, compete one more time, which should be interesting, because I'm always a fan of the trilogies that have a tiebreaker, and you don't really know who's going to win that third matchup. So we'll see when the time comes for that. So how many minutes are we in? We're already 40 minutes in, and we're now getting into the playoff talk. And I think, personally, that the playoffs were very similar to WrestleMania, where nothing really made me jump out. There was a couple of great things. There's a couple of head-scratching things and just disappointing. Obviously, basketball is not predictable and not supposed to be. It's, people actually going out there trying to do their job, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to say the F word for wrestling. That's essentially what I'm trying to get to here. This is also becoming way too realistic. Okay. I will put it this way. I'm a Grizzlies fan. Hopefully, y'all know that. If y'all don't, I just told you. Oh my God, this is way too symbolic. Regardless, I'm a Grizzlies fan. So our performance Sunday legitimately ruined me caring about the playoffs for the rest of that Sunday. I was like, okay, let me just care about WrestleMania. If y'all want some advice, I was watching that on 2 hours of sleep because I had lots of other things to do this past weekend because, again, I've said it time and time again, there's so much stuff going on this weekend. So I was out watching that with a lot of sleep. And you know what? It kind of helped because I couldn't be that damn heated or I was way too exhausted to show emotion. Exhaustion was my main emotion. Let's put it that way. We got game 2. And I'm hoping that we can come out and win the series. I also, let's put it this way. This is the best way. Because here's the thing. This is why I didn't provide playoff predictions, and I put WrestleMania predictions. I did not do playoff predictions. Because anytime I say something, it comes back to bite me in the ass. So it's just for the best if I don't say anything, I feel. But I feel that this is a sentiment that I can stand behind and believe. It's the 1v8 matchup. The number one team, the in quotations best team, the not in quotations best team, is supposed to have this matchup and, should look this dominant. But the main thing, this is the one thing that I was trying to get behind. I wish that every Grizzlies game could be like that play-in game on Friday night. The fans were into it. Obviously, the Oklahoma fans shouldn't be in. Like they were into that game, but it was a fun night for me. That play-in game, we had a lot of great moments. Everyone played well, it felt like. I wish that every game could be that way, but it's basketball. It's not going to be the case with that. So we got game 2. Bro, the Mad Ants. We got G Leaguers on this damn list. So we got game 2. We'll see what the hell happens there. So talk about the rest of the playoffs, I will say. This is why I saved this for last, because I did not watch every matchup because I was focusing on WrestleMania, and that the first matchup of the damn day ruined things for me, obviously. But the Saturday games, I did. The Saturday slate, I did. And again, it kind of goes to my point that I was talking about. That was the 3-6 matchups, 4-5 matchups, where those should be competitive and competing. And we got that in the Nuggets and Clippers, which when I was watching that game and thinking about it now, that is basketball. Back and forth, chaos everywhere, shots going down, great defense, overtime. That was basketball. That was great. And this has been a great series, and it is the 1-2 series right now that are tied 1-1, and we got a game 2 out of it where the other team won, the road team won. So this Nuggets-Clippers series so far has been great. Kawhi Leonard, who I just was controlling, and we're going to give him the ball now just for the moment. Automatic. If he's putting the ball up, I'm expecting it to go in. Boom. That's perfect timing there. It's just been a great series. That is the simplest way I could put it. And the best way that I could put it is that is basketball. Pacers-Bucks. Very similar to last year with the roles being reversed of Giannis needing help. Where last year it was Chris Middleton or Dame. You couldn't get it all at once. Now, as things stand, Dame is supposed to come back, which that is a great sight to hear, but you definitely got to concern and think, is he going to be healthy? And it also feels that a lot of the talk for the series and going into it was talking about, what can the Bucks do? Are the Bucks disappointing? Or what can the Bucks do? What's Giannis going to do? And Giannis has done Giannis things. Giannis has been great. But the talk should obviously be going towards the Pacers and them putting on dominant performances, which they've done since the start of the new year, and kind of owning this rivalry. I wouldn't necessarily in the rivalry trajectory, we're kind of on the loose end and don't really have anything that chaotic going on. So we take what we can get. And this is one of those things where things should pick up once Damian Lillard gets out there and once the Bucks, the team, actually compete. So we're hoping for that to happen. soon. Also, this game's on NBA TV, their next game. I believe that one of their games is on ESPNU, which I feel is a little bit insane. And, you wouldn't really think about. Okay. Give me the ball. So there's that. Hopefully the series picks up, especially because, again, it's the 4-5 matchup. That should be the competitive series where both teams are on equal playing fields. Nuggets, Clippers, already talked about. That is basketball. Pistons, Knicks. Good on the Pistons for getting a win on the road. And they probably should have had two. And again, it's very much the case of what I've seen with Pacers and Bucks, where so many people think the Pistons are going to win. And I don't really know why. I think it should be the other way around. But now, seeing the games actually take place, I kind of understand that sentiment a little bit more. And again, good on them for actually closing out game 2, because there was a couple moments very late where Brunson was getting to the free throw line. Brunson was making his shots. Mikal had a good game. Obviously not a good ending. I thought the Knicks were going to close it out and do it. So good on the Pistons for being able to finish. And, now they're going to Detroit. We're going to see a Pistons team that has finally won a playoff game. They have not won a playoff game now since 2008. So now you don't have to worry about hearing that, because now they've won. The last time they won was, tonight. So I think that Detroit will be excited and ready to see basketball, because the last time that they were in the playoffs, legitimately none of the players on their team were on the team. And that was the great Blake Griffin year. So that'll be an exciting matchup, to say the least. And I think that the Knicks will be prepared and ready to fight. And I also think that I said in one of my videos that if there's ever a fight to happen in any of these series, that was probably the one for it to happen in. So you're not really hoping for it to happen, but I kind of hope that I'm right. So I'm winking, hoping that it happens. Wolves, Lakers. I didn't watch. Sorry. I did keep up with it on the scoreboard, and I was a bit surprised that the Wolves won. But I also think that I said in my predictions that I think the Wolves are the more complete team, but the Lakers obviously have the better duo and the better players in LeBron and Luka. But the Wolves have the more complete team, and they were behind their leaders back. I was trying to make a leader Wolfpack joke, but it didn't really work out as well. So the Sunday slate, I will admit, I didn't care for and didn't watch. And as a Grizzlies fan, I can also say this. I absolutely hate the Warriors. I've always had that sentiment and try to keep it out of my videos, because I try to talk about all the teams fairly. But after that play-in game on Tuesday, I already officially hated the Warriors, but it's stamped now. It's stamped now. I legitimately broke my remote after watching that game and the end result of that game. So as much as an exciting matchup and history that the Rockets and Warriors have, it'll be hard for me to watch that series unbiased, and hard for me to watch the Warriors compete in games. As much as people say that's basketball, this is beautiful basketball. Y'all won't get me behind that sentiment. Y'all can say it. I ain't going to disagree with y'all, but y'all ain't going to get me. Y'all ain't going to get me to say it. It's the easiest way to put that. So I don't know all the games. I believe that the games tonight are Grizzlies, Lakers. No, Jesus Christ, no. I guess I can really say that, yeah. But Grizzlies, Thunder, Wolves, Lakers, and Bucks, Pacers. Now, the Wednesday slate, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'd imagine it's the other teams from Sunday that hadn't played. It's also fun, weekday playoff basketball. Going out of your way, you get your day done with, and then you come home and you get to watch high-level and competitive and good basketball. Because this slate on Monday was good basketball, back-and-forth competitive action. So hopefully the rest of the playoffs are like that. So the one thing I also like about the first round is that there's 16 teams involved. There's so many teams to watch, and we're getting to the level and point to where we're slowly going to get teams that we can't watch anymore that you enjoy watching play. So that's why I like the first round personally. Is there's so much variety and options to care about and watch. Where obviously as the series go on, less and less are involved, and that's not as fun, but it makes it more competitive because it's the top teams and the more dominant teams, if to say the least. So now we're just talking about random stuff until this game is done. Sorry that I didn't really give the most in-depth analysis for the Sunday games, but that's kind of also the case with those series that were going on because that's the teams with the higher advantage and the more dominant teams. So there's that to put with it. So overall, the playoffs and WrestleMania were good. They weren't necessarily great. There's things that could have made them great and made them better, but that's the thing in it is that you're going to have to stay tuned. Where obviously in WrestleMania's case, you normally expect that to be the end-all, be-all, where now this year kind of didn't really feel that way. It was more so what you're going to have to tune in to see what we do with this next and how this continues and whatnot. So we got that with Raw. And the main two angles that came out of Mania with Cena being the new champion, and with Seth Rollins being aligned with Braun Breaker, we got a new chapter in those stories with Randy being added and Braun Breaker being added. The world title scene, we didn't really get that with Jey Uso. It was more so about his celebration, which was okay, and seeing a title celebration actually be a celebration and nobody like interfering to want to get the championship, and Sami Zayn and Jimmy being involved, which there might be, I might be lying, and Sammy might be involved next, and Sammy might want a world title shot next as like a friendly wager between the two. I wouldn't be that surprised by it, but I'm also, in the case of the Jey Uso title run, trying to think of things that I would actually be interested in, because a lot of them I wouldn't necessarily say is the case. And I'm more so on the okay side of him being world champion, because I expected it to happen at some damn point, just because of how over he is. So I'm extremely tired. I'm going to try to wrap this game up. Hopefully we're getting a future glimpse of the playoff matchup that's going on between these two teams. I'm going to go drink some water, and hopefully this is the end of this. So we got 50 minutes of action. I think that's good enough for y'all. We're going to go double check here. What has been the longest Shoot the Breeze video thus far? I might stall and make it longer than that. Probably not, though. This is the return of edition of Shooting the Breeze. We haven't had one in a minute, like I said. Oh, yeah. There we go. It's also kind of crazy that we're coming back, and back-to-back thumbnails for Shooting the Breeze that you'll see involve John Cena and the World Championship. So we should be getting more Shooting the Breeze coming soon. Now, what is insane by that is I've gone into 9 months ago. I made a Shooting the Breeze talking about John Cena's retirement, which is fitting because, again, I'm talking about John Cena right now. That episode went an hour. The start of the 2024 playoffs episode went 21 minutes. The aftermath of WrestleMania 40 went an hour and 3 minutes. Aftermath of the Royal Rumble went 58 minutes. So we've reached the hour mark in several Shooting the Breeze videos. The aftermath of WrestleMania 39, which I will admit, a lot of that video is me talking about the Raw after WrestleMania and how much it disappointed. So I'm glad that we didn't have to say that for this year. Also, one of my freaking Shooting the Breeze videos says, do the Mavericks regret trading for Kyrie Irving? Because that was when they didn't make the playoffs that first year at Kyrie. We're now looking at it. They made another damn trade. So I think we've talked enough. I'll see y'all down the line. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you do, comment your thoughts on this past weekend of the playoffs and WrestleMania and any other thing that might have happened. I'm intrigued. So I do appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all when I see y'all, because I'm out for now. Goodbye.